Well, glad you're still with us on the program. Quickly, I'd love you to meet my guests who will help us create a handle for this conversation this morning and help us to establish a perspective on what should be happening, what we should be doing as a country, as a government, as a people going forward. First, I have Patrick Awosage, a legal practitioner. Thank you for coming on the program.
It's my pleasure. Thank you very much, and hi viewers at home.
Comrade Austin Osakwe is Executive Director, Foundation for Good Governance. Thank you for coming on the program as well.
Thank you. Good morning, viewers.
We appreciate you. And then we have my grand guest this morning, as I called him a while ago, Agarese Idubo, Public Affairs Analyst. We are grateful for spending part of your time with us this morning. All right, let's begin the conversation, gentlemen. Let me begin with you, Barrister Awosage. Not because you're a lawyer, by the way, so it doesn't look like you're getting some competitive advantage. But let's start with you. Electioneering in Nigeria is capital intensive. Some persons have said there's nothing we can do about that. How do you assess that position?
Thank you very much. It's true that for you to run for office and to become an aspirant through the party lobbying, trying to sell yourself amongst your comrades in your political parties and affiliation, you definitely have to spend money, even if not to buy yourself through. Obviously, there are things you need to put money into. You need to mobilize those that will be around you. You need to move from, one constituent to yet another. It all depends on the office you're running for. So all these are capital intensive. And again, I honestly know that within the party, you can't just jump out and say, I want to run, because there are certain financial implications too. They tell you to take that form or to do this, to do that. These are financial implications that you must meet. And obviously, you as an individual can do that. So you are definitely going to rely on the support of persons who believe in you and believe in what your agenda you're going there to carry out. So these are the things that really make it bulky. So for anybody to say, well, it's a smooth ride home, you don't need to know nobody, it's an independent candidate I want to be, I jump on the street, I just tell the people somewhere, and then, no, it doesn't work that way, because you need everybody's hand to be on deck to ensure that all you are going to be doing is well articulated. It could be in books, it could be in CDs, it could be in talking to people, going out, and you need this.
I need money to push all of this.
You need money to push all of this. So for anybody to believe that elections could be won or contested on a platform of, having money, I don't have nothing, like we have had in a very recent time that we have to borrow money from the bank. I would have loved to borrow money too to fly out an election, but we know those are just jokes, and it doesn't work that way. You really need, it's capital intensive. That is the true fact.
Okay, let me come to, you have established a very brilliant point. Let me come to Idubo. Let's look at the situation we have in our country where financing or funding of campaigns of elections generally is said to be a process that's not clean. In other words, you can't even put a finger on the sources of the finance that goes into electioneering in Nigeria. Is that a standard practice?
No, I don't know what you mean by standard practice now. Standard practice where? In Nigeria, you mean?
No, I mean, what would be the ideal system anywhere in the world when it comes to finance?
Very basically, like my very dear friend said, he laid a very fine foundation, and he mentioned a few things. Maybe he didn't put money on them.
So you put money on?
Yes, you see, the process from the very beginning is expensive. Most of even though we keep saying, oh, fine, doesn't spend money, but there's no way you cannot spend money. Talking from experience, in 2003, I wanted to be governor of Edo State. In my own small way, I know how much money came out of my pocket and from my friends' pockets. So these are issues that at times you must put together and agree. Like he did say, there is no way in this part of the world where you can run election, even without even giving Agarese or Sakwe or our money. You spend money on your programs, on ITV, publicity and all that. It's quite expensive. You might want to ask, okay, fine, why wouldn't there be a check? What kind of check? And those who try to put a ceiling on how much you can spend are not practical.
So it's not realistic to have a ceiling?
They don't even know what is it. You must bring a person who has contested election before to preside over, talking about ceiling. I was reading, I say, before to become a president, the Electoral Act, as amended in 2010, Section 91 says the president must not spend more than 5 billion naira. That is just a scratch. That is just a scratch. 5 billion will not seem anywhere. So very basically, electioneering in Nigeria is quite expensive. They talked about people, nobody listens to you. The only goodwill in politics is money. That's the goodwill.
That's a basic language.
That's the goodwill. Oh, I say he's a very nice man, very popular. Mustafa is very nice, very popular. Yes, fine. After all of that, what next? The average person, even your own constituents will ask you to give money. And they will pretend as if it's not directly for them. But at the end of the day, you find out they come at the money somewhere. So basically, in Nigeria, as we speak today, electioneering is quite expensive.
In other words, no matter how well-meaning you are as an aspirant, you've got to go look for the money first.
That's the very foundation. You might start to talk about, you can, to even sell yourself is money. To go and talk to, as I say that, my name is John, I want to be counselor. He listens to you quite right. But by the time you now come, like you talk about winning primaries, the primaries in the first place are very, very expensive. The election itself is another. In the last election, for instance, I took part, physical part. And
you mean the governorship in the state?
The presidential election.
Okay.
Even the governorship, even the National Assembly elections. You find out that even in a ward, for instance, not a local government now, we have 774 in Nigeria. Right. In a ward now, 5,300. In a ward, as much as 6 million was spent on 2 days to election. Not because they think they want to buy anybody, but because it's a process. You pay for agents, you pay for various logistics, and all of these things put together. By the time you put all of this I'm not very good in calculation, but I know my brother is, you can see it runs to tens of billions of naira. So there's no way in this country, for instance, because
it is a bit worrisome. Yes, but it will appear, Osako, it will appear a lot of these things are cast in stone. How much does that worry you?
I'm not worried by the fact that money is spent on campaigns and electioneering. That's all over the world. If you have watched closely the relay of elections in America, you would have found the kind of figures that have been mentioned. So the problem with us is not that money is spent on election. That's inevitable. There's nothing we can do about that. First, let's establish what does this money go into. In the actual elections itself, the day preceding the election, every party office and government house, depending on whether the government in power is contesting or not, it's a bank. You have 192 wards across the state. Each of those wards has hundreds of units. Right. You require a party agent to man each of these units. It's not for free. So if you have thousands of party agents who expect that at the end of that day's exercise, you should give them 1,000 naira, we're already talking of hundreds of millions. That's just one. Two, in every unit, you deploy money for security. We are a nation in denial. So I didn't want to go there. Because the things that are clear, that are open, we tend to shy away from them. And therefore, we remain in morass. Now, you deploy money for security at different levels. Political parties deploy money for security. Then these days, we have gone nuclear. We now cook and take away food to the units, every unit. We all vote, we see what happens on the unit level. I'm not even talking of money to induce voters. For me, that is neither here nor there because it's an ill we need to fight in this country. But I'm talking of established channels that money goes into. I dare say that what is worrisome is that in other societies, the money spent on elections comes largely from the populace. It is the people themselves voters, organizations, interest groups, business people, professionals, industry. They are the ones who contribute money to support a candidate that they believe in. That's why you find when you say Obama he went to California, he raised $8 million. It came from individuals. But the reverse is the case in Nigeria. Elections are an opportunity, campaigns are an opportunity for people to make some money for themselves. It's not an opportunity to invest in a candidate in whose capacity and sagacity and capability you believe. Like my elder brother said, it is one thing to believe in somebody, it's another thing to put your money where that belief is. The people will say, Osakwe, you must go now to the Senate. You must go to the House of Reps. You must go and deposit these ideas. Go and fight for our constituency in the National House. And they will gather around me. And then I get carried away. The moment I call the first meeting to announce that I am now ready to join the fray, the same people who praise me to high heavens will be the ones to say, so what is on ground now? What's our own now? What's in it for me? So every meeting you call, you feed. You give envelopes to take away. You buy drinks. Nobody is coming to put in a naira. If there are, there must be very few. And that's infinitesimal. So what is worrisome, sir, is that because of the money deployed into electioneering and campaign, the tendency is that ab initio, unless we are deceiving ourselves, we know that the 4 years is already a failure. We hide our heads in the ostrich, in the grounds, in the sands, like the proverbial ostrich, thinking that people who put billions together to go into office to go and serve you, they come to kneel down and beg, but they invest billions in that exercise. And we think that they are coming to provide roads, they are coming to provide education, health, they are coming to give you a better life. Their first order of business is to set up a mechanism to recoup their investment.
So largely, electioneering is more of an investment opportunity in Nigeria.
It is an investment opportunity. You don't be, look, you have ideas, no matter how good your ideas are, you want to go and put them for the benefit of the people. Those ideas are yours as a person. To now take them there, the same people you want to use the ideas to help, expect that you must pay for it. Because, and I tell you the underlying problem, over time, the people have come to distrust those in government. They have come to lose faith. They have become cynical. They have become skeptical. They don't believe anything can come out of government. So their own is, you want to go, we know you are going to go and loot. Before you go and loot, you need us, pay us first. It doesn't matter how small it is. Pay us up front. Then go and do whatever you want to do, because we can't stop you from doing so anyway. But let us be careful. Where we are coming from, look, we have gone through the military. We are now into party politics. Let us not get to a point where people now begin to look back at the military as a better option. That would be anarchy. If democracy does not give us what we expect of it, then that's the end of it. Party politics. We talk of internal party democracy, which is completely non-existent. In Nigeria? Completely non-existent. Delegates to go and vote at primaries are put in hotels. The negotiation is done. Is there a delegate who can come out openly and say that he was going to vote for a candidate, perhaps for governorship or for any of the National Assembly seats, and he didn't collect anything more than 200,000 naira? That's how it goes all over the place. They quarter them in hotels, they bring them in vehicles. Delegates that are supposed to come individually from their centers, they now come in buses. They bring them to come and queue up and vote. Money has exchanged hands.
Yeah, because they are leaders.
Before I come to Awol Saige, Agarese Dubo was going to say something in addition to what Osakwe said.
He has, he has built on the foundation laid by our brother. But very honestly, if anybody sees that anywhere and thinks that he can become an elected official politically, just without spending money, he has said too many things. And all of this put together, you can find out that a man, you need what one of our friends calls a deep pocket. And the kind of money you require, like it, but a little bit I could disagree with him. In 4 years, even if you spend so much money, any governor in 4 years, even without stealing money, you can make so much money. Without stealing money. Because they are every we all are aware that every governor gets a security vote,
yes.
Which is minimum of 500 million every month. You don't need to steal money. Not every state of Nigeria you have crisis. And
the so-called security vote is not accounted for, is it?
Nobody talks about it. Not every state has security challenges, So very honestly, you can get that and just put about 300 in your pocket. To deploy that to start to service the loan, the loan from
wherever, from wherever.
But basically, and you can enjoy tremendous goodwill.
That's right.
You don't need to steal money. See, I think we have primitive, acquisition of wealth in Nigeria. The man wants to steal for 10 generations. You could, if you had spent about 5-10 billion naira trying to become governor, for instance, you could make that without shocking the economy. You can do a lot of things. But because we want to still beyond now, we want to think that, okay, now this is 2018, I must steal enough money to keep me till 2050.
I know you have said
then
it.
My children,
that's why you will steal.
Then my children, in 2050, they must keep some money.
Yes.
For 2090.
Yes, sir.
These are issues that it's just primitive. It's just primitive. But very honestly, I think the governor or the president enjoys tremendous goodwill. That you could make money, you could convert your goodwill to money.
Right.
But because people want to steal for the next generation, that's the problem we have in Nigeria. And again, like this, some persons some persons just believe, okay, let me just take my own now because when he gets there,
right,
I may never see him again. But like he also said, he said he might ask more. But that kind of money, how much is it? Some get 5,000. Some get 10,000. Where would I take you to?
We heard of some who got a pack of food and a bottle of drink to wash it down.
Yes. Where would I take you to? So very honestly, I think we need to start to reconscientize our people. Maybe some more civic education to let them understand that your future is in your hands.
Right.
If you sell your future now, because the man wants to give you money. So if you come as a delegate, like you said, come from different angles, come to the voting center and be independent. But these days,
not coming in air-conditioned buses.
Yeah, these days, the governor puts you. The governor has said, "We're going to vote for candidate A." All delegates from my state will put them together and we will drive together. And I will be monitoring him. He will monitor him. He will monitor that to ensure that we do what the bidding is. But honestly, people should be allowed to be independent, so that you can pick. Can elect those you think can best serve your interest.
Let's talk about party politics now. I will say again, it all begins from the party system. Essentially, Osakwe has established that if we can't get it right within the party structure, there's nothing we can do when it comes to the larger society. How much of this problem are we dealing with within the party frame?
In what respect now?
In terms of this electioneering issue, campaign, funding challenge, and so on and so forth, because you've got to establish first that you have the blessing of the party people before you even come talk to members of the public.
That's true.
And that puts pressure on you financially. So how much of a challenge are aspirants dealing with within their own party, for instance? Because a lot of times when there are people within the party who have a problem with a particular candidate, some persons have said they don't come to tell us the whole truth. That a lot of times the problem is based on financial, disagreements over finance. It's not necessarily because the candidate isn't credible or the aspirant isn't credible. How much of financial issues are these aspirants dealing with within their own parties, first of all?
Thank you very much. You see, we are traditional people, and we must understand one very basic truth. regardless of how much you have to throw around, if you are not loyal to your party, you are not, you are this assuming person, you have this questionable character of having the tendency to be very, very sarcastic of sort, and a lot of people will pull away from you, and they would not want to push you or sell you as a good candidate. They will internally fight you. So many a times we see things like this. I know some will say, well, we have the money, we have sponsors, we have everything that they require of us. But if you have been unable to regard and respect those that are around you within the party, they could just pretend and play along. But at the final end, you're going to see that their hands are not really going to be for you. They're not going to push you. They're not going to be there for you. So we must put that right. Even if you have all the ideas in the world, they know you are the best man for the job, they will rather prefer someone who will consider the party, because you cannot be anything outside the party. And you must also understand that the party, if you have anything you intend to do, for instance, I want to be governor of the state, and I have said, Mr. Osakwe is here, and he had been one-time governor. And for instance, he had issues with me when he was governor. He appointed me as his finance commissioner.
Right.
And now he is ex-governor, and I've become so rich overnight, and I'm doing well. I go to daddy, I lie down, I sweep his house, I buy him drinks, I do all the nice things. He's there watching. I still come to him, sir, thank you, sir, for the privilege. I can even say it in campaigns that if not for Mr. Osekwe that had made me, he is my father. We saw, we do see all this play out. Now, there are certain things that will not work. He already knows that this guy has a tendency of being fraudulent. And in as much as we say we're all thieves like that, it's not really, we really still have this thing about us. This man is going to destroy our party. We know what he did before. Because his party thing, we had to shield him. He rescued me, or CFCC would have picked me. He had to cover up so that a lot of things will not come up. But, oh, Patrick, you can't go. I will relax. Let somebody say, no. You can't tell me that. I have to. Why you have been governor? You see, issues start coming up like that. So, if we know we want to run for office.
But let's keep the perspective a bit narrow now.
Yes.
Within the party, money, we are told, is also often demanded.
Absolutely.
So your spending begins from the party before you get to the electorate.
Absolutely.
So how much of a problem are we looking at on that front?
Now, like I just said, money is one of it.
You are also talking about loyalty.
I'm talking about loyalty to the party. You cannot be playing anti-party politics and you are
expect to be accepted.
And expect to be accepted like that. I talked about the question you have, as in, remember when Senator Saraki had wanted to be Senate president, and they said no. They were trying to bring a whole lot of things that later play out, and it's all but on the party themselves. Now, what I'm trying to say here is that it's not just about the money. In as much as money, you need the funding. If we don't have the right person that have the money, they're still going to fight you.
Right.
So we mustn't negate that fact that despite the fact that your money would push you far, but they could also throw a clog on you and ensuring that you don't get the tickets. That's the point I'm making. Now, in terms of money, you have to meet the stakeholders. You have to meet the party executive. You have to meet those, because there are men and women within the party that you can't just wish away.
Right.
In as much as we believe that the party is one, I belong to this party, that man could pull so much weight. You have to see him. And in seeing him, you need to go there and give money. Good money, and most of the time this is a discussion that is off record. It is not what you come on the media. It's not what you come on the media,
right?
And say, well, you may not have to present it to him. It may have to be to his aide. The conventional way they do their blocking within the school houses, using the reps, the students' representatives to collect money for orgas, and that system could also be instituted so that you will not come up tomorrow and said you have given money. So having spent all of that, you're already dry. You need a whole lot of funding. You need people to support you. And this is the big problem. I'm not saying it's out of place to spend money, like he had rightly stated. But the point remains, the money you are spending, where are you getting it from? And the people bringing the funds, they're not getting back into you know, obviously they are controlling some assets, and then they're bringing funds within the government coffers and now plowing into the electioneering period and time. And this is what really, so, you know, strangulates the system. And you as a candidate, you know, are waiting, wanting to be XYZ person, you have pulled money, you have started up money, and this is the major reason why whoever wants to be, or who had been before, you want to amount so much wealth, because you know, ordinarily, the average man on the street, or whoever the floor member, so to say, within the party, they are there to eat rice and they won't give you anything. So you need money to even induce them.
Let me allow you to catch your breath for a second, and then come to
Yes.
Osakwe. INEC plans to monitor spending during elections, particularly in light of the 2019 elections. And
Okay.
of course, the commission says it will follow through with the plan to monitor spending by politicians across party. So, Sakwe, tell us, for instance, how realistic that would be, looking at the fact that the narrative has always been that people spend, and in some cases they say overspend during election periods. So for INEC, what does this really mean?
Well, we all know it's not realistic. I mean, you know, when you are given a job, you must justify, you must be seen to be doing the job that you have been given. And now, my question is, at what point are you going to do the monitoring? The places where politicians spend money in electioneering campaigns, do they invite INEC? The only thing that concerns INEC, where they are even invited to even be observers, is when the actual primary is being held on the field. But what happened yesterday, the previous night? Did they follow them to the hotel? Were they there when they distributed envelopes? Do they have a meter for measuring how much a candidate spends? So, at what point are they going to do the monitoring? In 2007, 2007, the presidency, the seal for spending was 500 million for presidency.
Like a threshold?
Yes, and 100 million for governorship. And people just laughed. 500 million is entertainment money. And then 2011, 1 billion for presidency. When we know that the meetings, by the way, what you were talking about is called a joint cocoa. A joint cocoa.
What does that mean?
Elders don't sit in vain.
Elders don't gather in vain. Anywhere elders gather, you are a candidate, you want to go and see them. And that's people are not even a candidate, you want to go and see them. They don't gather in vain. You present.
Cola.
So that's what we're talking about. Who is going to monitor any of that? Who monitors the money for inducement? How do you even monitor it? How do you quantify it? What of the food that is taken to voting centers? What of the money deployed for security? What of the payment of party agents? I think where the issue is, INEC does not seem to be able to rule a line between the candidate's spending as a candidate and the party's spending as the platform on which the candidate is running.
So there's a clear distinction.
There has to be a clear distinction. The moment a candidate emerges, the party takes over the campaigns. However, in our climb here, the decision to adopt a candidate by a political party is 80% denominated and determined by the war chest that the candidate has, the deep pockets. We have seen situations where political party leaders, the owners of the party, there are few anyway, will tell you that it doesn't matter, all of this one they are doing is a waste. We have picked that person because while he was in so-so place, the stories are he raked billions. So it's the billions they want. Instead of the political party managing the election and releasing funding for things, they are actually collecting money regularly from the candidate, both for themselves and a few party organizational issues, and allow that's why you have candidates now setting up their campaign structure. And that comes from the weakness, the essential weakness of political parties in Nigeria. The party card, my elder brother is a practitioner, there's nothing he doesn't know about these ones. The party cards given out has months for dues. How many party members pay dues? How many party members even get to see the card? How many of them even know what those dues represent?
So on account of holding that card, you're expected to pay
You
dues.
pay your monthly dues. So you are a stakeholder. So you partly determine the outcome of such internal party arrangements. But what we find is that members are lobbied to even become members. Instead of them paying, they expect something in return. So they leave the party for a few investors, those Nigerians refer to as godfathers. They are the ones running the party. They bring out their money to spend. So when they put a candidate in power, which comes back to what my other brother was saying earlier, that a governor can be conscientious. He just collects security vote, then it takes 300 million. He doesn't need to steal. The truth of the matter, sir, the people who steal in government, governor, president, what do they steal for? First, they steal for themselves. Two, they steal for their families. Three, they steal for generations yet unborn. But more importantly, they steal for the next election. Are you expecting them to go and deepen into what they have kept for themselves, their families, and generations yet unborn to run the next election? Why statesmen are talking of the next generation, politicians are talking of the next election? So it's already heaping billions in place. That's one, sir. Everybody who has served wants to now have the toga of a political godfather.
So he determines who comes after him.
Yes, and you need a lot of billions to do that. If I have served as governor and somebody else has taken over, if my people run to that present governor and it doesn't do anything for them, they come back to me. So I dip hand into what is there to satisfy them, because I have to continually be the leader so that I can deploy people to positions. Two, sir, take a look at the compounds of those who have ruled from governorship, even senators, House of Reps. They tend to be the palace. That palace will be run like a hotel. So they can now host meetings of political party leaders and quarter them in their houses as if it's a hotel. They build sitting rooms that are measuring 100 by 100 where meetings can be held. They are daily cooking for people who are coming. I have visited the house of an aspirant. It wasn't even a candidate yet. There were cooks cooking. And I said, what's happening here? They said, that's how it's done until primaries. There were freezers loaded with beer. There were people folding envelopes inside the house and putting some money inside based on the degree of who the visitor is. I am talking of an organized system which you and I will seem to regard as being criminal and being retrogressive, but which is the norm. It has become the norm in Nigerian politics. So yes, sir, INEC wants to monitor. Monitor what? Even the INEC itself. Can it insulate itself from being a beneficiary of the spending that we are talking about? When INEC commissioners are deployed to states and they meet at the offices of the INEC, it's not ready to even hold meetings, not to talk of conduct elections. Who do they run to? INEC headquarters? No, sir. They go to the governor. They go to party leaders.
But we cannot independently verify that, because INEC also has its budgetary allocation to run all of the things it does.
Just as police have budgetary allocation to run police stations. So when they now tell you the money for bail that they are collecting from you so that they can buy paper, buy barrel, we say we cannot independently verify. The truth of the matter is that in this country, we cannot start fixing things until we see the reality and we expose them. Look, sir.
That's true.
Let me tell you, sir. 2 elections ago, I was here and I challenged INEC. The report was that there were no problem about registration of voters. And I said, look, these card readers you are bringing, they will break down. They can't last for the whole day. They now said they have given generator to each ward, one generator. I say, is that so? 192 generators in Edo State? We say, we want to see it. He said, it's not your business. Sir, you can testify that communities, opinion molders, we are the ones hiring or buying and giving to INEC to work. So we know these things. Well, let's not be looking for independent verification. The country is going. The truth, sir, is that for now, and they have said it, and I don't dispute it, any sane person who says for the love of his people, he wants to go and serve them in any category of elected office, from councillor, if he has not amassed wealth somewhere and kept to be frittered away, he shouldn't bother. Because it is not a contestation of ideas. We haven't gotten there at all. That's why there are a lot of people who are very clear about where this country should go, or even at their level of the community. I expect, for instance, that if I have taught in school and I have retired, I'm still strong, I should relocate to my community and go and serve, either as a councillor or a local government chairman. So that the wealth of knowledge, the experience I have garnered, I will put it at the disposal of my communities.
But I guess you do not have deep pockets now, do you?
You can't try it, because in any case, you haven't even gotten your pension. The pension that should help you survive, you haven't even gotten that. So when you call a meeting, they are going to ask, what can this one offer? What can this one offer is not, they are not questioning your intellect. They are not questioning the base of knowledge.
They are not in doubt about that.
No, they are not in doubt. They know your capacity. But they're asking, what can you offer? They know what they are talking about. The language of politics is different from the language that we speak here.
When it comes to Idubo, let's look at how this damages our system, politically speaking. I mean, in the light of this not too young to run bill, for instance, you have young people across this country now, essentially from the private sector, coming up to say they want to vie for positions come 2019. With this kind of scenario we are confronted with, what does it portend for these young, brilliant, forward-looking Nigerians?
Yeah, like my brother, as I was like I said, they don't have any real issues. I know you were going to ask if they have money to run. Even elders like us still need support.
Sure.
From people. So everybody needs support. So it's not a question of whether you are going to come as a young person, you cannot run because you have money. That's not a serious challenge. My worry about the not too young to grow thing is how a young man can handle a challenge. That's the difference between.
You think the pressure can break them?
No, listen, every young person, whether you are a pastor, whether you are whatever you are, if you are a young person going through adolescence and now going through the challenges are the same. The difference is how you handle the challenge or challenges. The challenges must come. What separates the pastor from the non-pastor or somebody who has been already bred is how he or she handles the challenge. The issues are the same. But having said that, the family factor, sometimes you can find, or you might find a man who says, I'm going to this office to render service. I want to come out of this office, I won't render service, go home clean. But if you come out of that office without amassing wealth, your family will ask you in our own language, like you fell into a river and water didn't, you cannot even see it. This is water.
Yeah, it rub off on you.
You fell into a lagoon
And you're looking so dry.
And you came out so dry. And they encourage you to even steal. Because they cannot understand that you have gone in there to offer service.
Right.
They don't call it steal, they say collect.
Yes. So very honestly, it's a generational thing. And one thing I think we must do, must have to learn. You, like he did say, you must spend money. That's the way you won't spend money. But in our own case, you give people money, which is not supposed to be.
Yes.
People should make contributions to your election.
They believe in you.
He talked about, the primaries. You spend a lot of money, asking them to support you to become a candidate. The usual thing or the normal thing should have been, haven't become a candidate, party takes over.
Yeah.
That would have been possible if we were subscribing to the party. But party has no money.
So with all of these crowds we see associating with the party, it's same old.
Yeah,
so even by the time you become a flag bearer, you are a flag bearer. It's not your flag.
yes.
It's the party's flag.
That is flag. So the party will take over your campaign. But now you are the one that funds the campaign. He mentioned also that, instead of the party asking you to go and sleep, you are the one who got the money. You must have your own campaign organization. What should not actually be? You don't run your own campaign different from the party's campaign. So most times there is conflict between my own campaign organization and the party structure. And most times there's a big quarrel. But I haven't said all of this. So we must start to straighten out. Look, I mean, the party chairman in a political setting is the #1 party man in the environment. But here it's not the same. The party chairman subordinates himself
Subservient to the
to
government.
the governor. Which is wrong. The governor is the party man. During the party meeting, in some cases, governor presides. Party meeting. The chairman just sits down and listens to the governor issuing instructions.
But we also understand that the president or the governor, as the case may be, is the de facto leader of the party.
Leader is different from chairman. It's not the same. It's not even the same. It's not even the same. I'll say this to you. It's not even the same. If you are leader, fine. But we are in a meeting. We're in a meeting.
Where the chairman should preside.
That's why you call him chairman.
Leader. I mean, you can be leader. That's fine. You can be leader. You can be national leader, state leader, local government leader. You can be leader. But they are there at the meeting. The presiding officer is the chairman. But because of this whole situation whereby nobody really has money. But let me not wish Nigeria evil. The last election, presidential election, on the day of election, like you did say, paying agents and all that, nothing less than 30 billion that will be spent paying agents. Nothing less than that. In the 5,000 whatever, worse in Nigeria. Because, I mean, in my own word, for instance, a lot of money was spent. So basically, if they now put a ceiling, like talking about 500 million, 1 billion, 5 billion, 5 billion is like pocket money.
Of course, I mean, what's 5 billion?
5 billion.
Like
Half a trillion.
Politics.
It's like pocket money. But so honestly, if on the eve of election you deploy close to 30 billion, but prior to that, you would have spent, a man hires an aircraft, for instance. Like we understand that the last presidential election, the candidates had to travel or crisscross the country.
36 state structure. It's not a
Crisscross
joke.
the country. And some people deploy their aircrafts.
Yeah.
And you know what for God's sake, how much money will have been spent servicing those things? So for me, INEC should not even be bothering, or they just don't bother about monitoring spending. In a civilized country maybe, but in Nigeria, like you said, there's no way INEC.
So when you say INEC should not be bothered, it does that say we are stuck now? We can't help ourselves.
They cannot come up with a proper position. They can't. They can't, because they're totally attendant things. They're totally things that...
At this point in time, I'd love our Osage to weigh in. We have, for want of better words, cloned the American kind of system politically. But it will appear we do not see much of those features, the features associated with the political arrangement in the U.S. playing out in our own country. Why do we have that kind of situation?
It's obvious. The average man is impoverished.
Over here?
Over here. The average man, who ordinarily should enjoy the benefits of a citizen, is not there. There's a common saying that a hungry man is an angry man. An idle mind is a devil's workshop. These are things we look at. You are talking about, people should live up to their honor, they should not do that, they should not pick money, they should not take a pack of food to cast their votes. Is it not a man that is well nourished, that know he could work and get paid, that know his little pay could serve or service his expenses?
Or as they say, take him home.
Take him home. So if we look at it critically, I would not want to blame the average man on the street. Over the years, there have been this great neglect on how the system, institutions ordinarily should be formidable. But today we have formidable individuals. You have one person bigger than the country. You have a man richer than the state. So what will you say? And you want the individuals there, and the entire jobs in the state belong to some persons that decide who, and the money is not enough, and a whole lot of things wrong here. Now, over there, it's a different ball game. You cannot verily find a poor American in terms of clothing, food.
Basics of life.
Basics of life. You are a citizen. It doesn't add up. You may want to live the kind of life you can't live. But that basic, I'm talking of here, you are working your ass out and you can't really afford some of these basics. So how do you reconcile that? A man working and earning, he's unable? Is it the one that doesn't even have a job that will be able? So it's an opportunity. So when election is coming up now, every young man, young lady, they take to the street, they go to the man who is contesting. We are loyal to you. We want to join in the campaign. It's even a big deal for you to join. Not because of the idea the man carry or what he's going to do. It's because of what I personally am going to benefit. Over there is not so. If we saw the Biafra issue then and a white man could kill himself over just because he believed. That's what he believed in. It wasn't because he was induced. Here it's not so.
So there's a question mark on our belief
serious
system.
one. Yes, yes. And I want to believe that when you have been so tortured psychologically, mentally, and you've been so impoverished, you can't think properly. A hungry man will not be able to process well.
Is that why some persons also have said over the years that politicians deliberately impoverish people in mind and pockets in such a way that they can keep them mentally and psychologically locked in?
I don't want to outrightly believe that, because the politicians themselves, they are victims of the same circumstance. It's what they met. Whoever, you know, okay, this is what he met on ground.
So he follows through.
He follows through. You know, those era of trying to fight for the state, like the Ambrose Ali, and then you're talking about giving scholars, those days are gone. You know, we're just talking. You know, we do a lot of talk here, a lot of talk. We don't see much of action. And that's what bleeds my heart as a person. Now, you look at people, they are turned out of school every other year, and graduates roaming the streets. Okay, I haven't waited after the stipends of the NYC. Now you don't even get that. A young lady can buy her toiletries, and you say she shouldn't go to the streets. And then she says, okay, let me go in for a job, and nothing is forthcoming. So these are issues. I think we keep, nobody is talking about the increasing number of our population. You know, we just keep producing kids, and people are just going on and on like that. And nothing is working.
All of this have serious ramifications.
Yes, yes. And that is what...
Bumping on you, please. Let me come to Osakwe. A few years ago, a political analyst said that we shouldn't be perturbed about the things we're seeing now, including this issue of a challenge of funding elections in Nigeria, because according to him, the United States was in the States worse, far worse than this. In fact, he even said that there were times you needed to organize parties just to ensure people came out to vote. So he says this is a process of evolution, that we are still evolving politically and socially. How much of that sentiment do you share?
Well, there is a sense in which that will make sense.
Okay.
Except that the America that analyst was talking about, it was possible to gauge their progress.
So you can't gauge ours?
We are moving backwards. The America you are talking about was moving from the back and moving forward. You could measure their progress. Okay? They came from a lower qualitative stage and they moved towards a higher qualitative stage. That's progress. So I would believe that reasoning if what we wear, what we are now, is better than what we were 20 years ago. It's difficult for anybody to speak and not glorify the past in Nigeria. You just mentioned it now. That there were days when people were giving scholarships. There was bursary. Our children don't even know the meaning of bursary.
I mentioned later, Bronsali.
Yes. People, pensions was taken for granted. Gratuity was taken for granted.
As we are living, they're just giving.
When he ran, 87, when he became, it was 87, sir. In case you have forgotten. I was in Wasota. And he came. At that time, we had bigger wards. We were 10. He came. I organized the youths in Wasota. He's here now. He didn't drop 1 naira. Our concern then was, let us look at all of those who are contesting for office. Those who can contribute to how we can realize our dream as young people. Today, that's not it. So when he said, don't worry, America was like that, some of us have gone to this. We have also read the history. Are we going forward? We keep glorifying the past because the past appears to be better. Let me tell you, sir, there is nothing that underlines the futility of our situation than the fact that openly now, when they go to either Eagle Square or whatever, wherever they do their conventions,
Either of the squares.
they now give out dollars. Oh, we can't verify that. We know people who go there. They now give out money in dollars to delegates.
To save you the while of carrying the money.
And then they say, because when you say we are giving out to 2 million, say, how do I carry all that? You just peel a few dollars. Just peel it like this. And you just put it in your pocket here and you are gone. That's not our currency. It is in this country we hear that in one small cupboard, they saw $40-something million. That's not the money we use. Look, for those of you who have traveled to the US, when you present $100 wherever you are making payments,
as a single bill,
oh God, eyes roll.
That's true.
But here, in different cupboards, plus the one monkey and others are swallowing, we get dollars all over the place. What kind of country are we?
Okay.
For me, sir, do you know, we were talking about party spending and all that. You know the zenith of this problem, the apex, is that when somebody is coming to come and campaign, there are merchants. That's their business. Their own is to mobilize people and bring them to the campaign ground so that there will be a crowd. We deceive ourselves so much. People will, they give them 2,000. They say, get into the bus.
So we now have paid crowds.
Yes! Oh, I challenge any politician here who says he's popular. He should just place an advert and say, I'm doing a rally in one primary school or in the stadium. You should leave it like that. I'm doing a rally. Let media be blowing it. Let's see how many people will be there. So there are people whose jobs, and we know them. They are merchants. Their own is to mobilize crowd to 2,000 naira. The party may pay, the candidate may pay 3,000. He collects 1,000 per head and gives out 2,000. The people who are there don't even know which party is organizing the thing. They don't know the candidates. They don't even know what he's talking about. So we pay now, gather crowd, so that to give a semblance that things are okay. I have often asked the question, sir, why will a governor of a state, you are going to receive the president of the country? It's an opportunity to draw the attention of the president to decaying infrastructure so that you can ask him to intervene more federally. But what do?
Start painting the
we take him to places where there are no problems. Then we start painting different places. We start beautifying roads that are not there. Who is deceiving who? What country is that? It's the man at the federal level, they already collect about 52% of the total revenue. They keep it. Now the man is visiting one of the states. You are supposed to even take him to areas that are terrible and say, Mr. President, sir, we have tried in this area, we have done this area, we have tried in this area. But because of paucity of funds, these are the problems that are confronting us. Intervene. No, what do you find? Even when people are coming to come and protest, as it is done elsewhere.
Let's begin to conclude this discussion we started a while ago. Your last word, Barrister Wosaige.
Thank you very much. We hope for the better Nigeria, and we encourage and really want everyone to begin to look towards a better Nigeria. Whether you belong to political parties or you are running for office, we should think of what is happening outside of our country. And the lessons we can learn from those. And the lessons we could learn. I think that will make a whole lot of change.
Let me come to Comrade Osakwe quickly. I know you don't believe a lot of these things are possible, especially when it comes to INEC regulating electioneering funding.
For me, that's clear. As a way of going forward, ultimately, the responsibility to change this country lies with the people. And for them to perform that role effectively, we need education, we need enlightenment, and we need direct interventions at this level of the socio-economic. People are hungry, people are jobless, even those who have no jobs, those who have jobs, their take-home pay cannot take them home. Against that background, people are not interested in principles, they are not interested in fighting for the truth. Essentially, three things. Let's solve the problem of poverty, alleviate it to a large extent. Let's educate our young people. Let's enlighten our people. For me, the solutions may not come even in my lifetime, but it doesn't stop me from being part of the vanguard that are fighting to realize that. In the
Give us a last word, Agarese Dubo.
We must start the civic education. Everybody must understand the very basics. Why do you think you want to stake your vote? Votes in Nigeria are not cheap, but even at that, we must start to prepare ourselves where you don't take money from politicians to cast votes for them. But we can take money to help them process. Maybe you want to send the money on an errand, not take money to line your pocket. But basically, we must start to go beyond the very, very primordial thing of just collecting money and paying your pocket.
And be more futuristic.
Yes. So you must take money to help him deliver on something, not because you put it in your pocket. So honestly, every Nigerian must understand, once you take money, the man will not come and give you free service.
So you can have your cake and eat it at the same time. Gentlemen, we are grateful for the time you spent with us on the program this morning, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your day. I'm Uyag Mofwegwe, and that will be our program TMI for this Thursday. God bless you. Enjoy the rest of your day.